Hello, learners, and welcome back to English with Teacher Dixon. It is quite nice to have you here. I want to delve into a very important topic in English language, and that is the phonotactics of English language. I must say, without mincing words, that this is the heart of the sounds of English language as long as the study is concerned. So, I'd like you to pay apt attention to this lesson. First, remember that during our lesson on the syllables of English language, we talked about different positioning of sounds as long as the English syllable is concerned. Then we made mention of the initial position, the final position, and also the medial position. So this particular topic will make inquest into the different sounds that are possible at different locations of the syllable and at different locations of words. Hence, it is needful that you get this understanding. So the first objective of this lesson is to expose you to the different sounds that cannot occur at the initial position of words, different sounds that you cannot have at the medial position, and different sounds that you cannot have at the final position. So, getting this understanding will help you to know how to identify the positions of sounds in words as well as in syllables. So, this is a must study aspect of English language. Okay, so the first thing we want to consider here is the definition of phonotactics. Having heard this concept, what comes to your mind? What do you think this concept is all about? Phonotactics. Phonotactics refers to the rules that govern the arrangement as well as the positioning of sounds in syllables or in words in a particular language. Take it again. Phonotactics refers to the rules that govern the arrangement of sounds in a particular language. Remember, we are considering the phonotactics of English language. So the rules that govern the arrangement of sounds or the combination of sounds in English language. Right, so that is the definition of the concept phonotactics. The next point I would like you to understand here is the phonotactic constraints in English language. So as long as the rules of sounds in English language is concerned, we have certain constraints. What I mean by constraint is those sounds that are not possible at different positions of words. It means they are not permitted. Such arrangement is not approved in the language. So that is what we want to consider under this. Now, under phonotactic constraints in English, we have onset constraints, we have nucleus constraints, and then coda constraints. Now you can make reference to my previous videos on English syllables. There I explain what an onset is, the nucleus, and the coda. Let me do a bit of recapitulation. Let me just repeat what I said, though you'll get it in full in my previous video. Okay, I said that the onset is the initial consonant sound in a syllable. The consonant sound that comes before the vowel sound in a particular syllable is known as the onset. Then the nucleus is the vowel sound at the middle or at the beginning of a syllable. So another word for nucleus is vowel sound. So the nucleus is the vowel sound. Then we have the coda. So the coda is the arresting consonant. In other words, the consonant sound at the final position of a syllable. So if you have a word like cat, you have the k sound at the beginning of that syllable, and that k sound is the onset. Then we have the sound, which is the nucleus, and then the t sound, which is the final consonant, the coda. So what are the different restrictions we have when it comes to the onset, the nucleus, and the coda? That is what we want to consider in this particular aspect of the phonotactics of English language. So let's begin with onset constraints as beginning of a syllable. What are those sounds that are possible and those sounds that can never occur at the beginning of words? The first one here is that English does not allow syllables to start with ng, ng, the sound represented by ng. Ng is a velar nasal sound. So this particular sound cannot come at the initial position of words in English language. You don't have any word with that sound at the beginning of the word. You only have it sometimes at the medial position or at the end. For instance, in angle, you have it in ang, hence that is the medial position. But in sing, you have it in at the final position, sing, at the end. So you cannot have this sound at the beginning of any word in English language. So that is the first onset constraints. 2, no syllable starts with sh. That's the sound we have in measure. Sh. Sound in measure. Unless borrowed from another language. So the only way we can have a word beginning with the j sound is if that word is borrowed into English language from another language, like the word genre. Genre here is a borrowed word. Hence, in the transcription, we have the j sound as the initial consonant sound. In other words, the onset. So apart from this word, it is a restriction in English language that you cannot have this sound at the initial position or as an onset in a word or a syllable. The next rule is rules for 3 consonant clusters. This aspect has to do with consonant clusters. Previously, I talked about this at length, and I said that it is only 3 consonant sounds that are possible at the beginning of any word in English language. So we can have 1 consonant sound as the onset in a syllable. We can have 2 consonant sounds. We can have 3 at the onset level, but we cannot have more than 3 consonant sounds at the initial position. Hence, it is a restriction. And what I want to show you at this juncture is how to arrange the sounds in order to have 3 consonant clusters. So when you have 3 consonant clusters in words, the arrangement must go this way. First must be the sound. The sound must come first. You cannot have 3 consonant cluster with another sound at the beginning. It must be the sound s, represented by letter A's. The second sound must be a voiceless plosive sound. The voiceless plosive sound or stop. And we have three voiceless plosive sounds, which are t and k. Note in English language we have six plosive sounds. That is the voiced plosives and the voiceless plosives. So these are the voiceless plosives, whereas we have b, d, and g as the voiced. So the voiced are not applicable here. We are talking about the voiceless stops or plosive sound. So you can only have a combination of ASP or ST or ASK in terms of sound. That's to say you can have SC and that SC will be sk, sk. So that is the second sound that will come after this sound. Any of these three. Moreover, to make it three, the next one that will follow is one of the liquid sounds. You have one of the liquid sounds of English language or a glide. Glide here stands for the semi-vowel sounds. The semi-vowel sounds, we have two semi-vowel sounds in English language, and they include the y sound and the w sound. They are semi-vowels. So you can have s, t, w. You can have s, t, y. Then you can have any of these liquid sounds. The l and the r sound are the liquid sounds. So in your combination, when you're talking about consonant cluster in English language, it must be a combination of the sound, any of these three, and then any of these four can combine to give you consonant cluster. And remember, it is only three consonant clusters that are possible at the initial position of any syllable or any word. Apart from that, you cannot have consonant cluster. Can't have four consonant clusters at the beginning of a word or at the beginning of a syllable. Cannot have five. The limit is three as long as the phonotactics of English language is concerned. So note that the phonotactics of English language has to do with the rules of sound combination or sound arrangement as long as the English language is concerned. So you cannot have anything more than the required sounds at the initial position. And this is the rundown of the rules at the initial position only. Subsequently, I'm going to talk about the medial position, that is the nucleus constraint, and also the final position, that's the coda constraint. Thank you very much for having me. I hope to see you in my next video. Well, to subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment on it, your view. Let me know how you feel about this tutorial. I remain your very own teacher Dixon.